All right, let's jump into it. Pete Grandin, welcome to Out of the Hourglass. Thank you for being here. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I look forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. We were just kind of talking. It's been a couple years since I've actually seen you in person, but we go way back in the summit world. We were talking about the boats that you have and the boat I was on probably, gosh, I think at this point, almost 10 years ago, Pete, which is
I
long.
want to say I was at least 10 years ago. That was a while ago.
We went out towards Block Island. It was fun times. You can't beat a Rhode Island summer. That's
Nope, I remember taking you and your brother to Block Island and knowing you had to be back and telling you guys, we need to leave. We need to leave. You're
yes.
like, no, we're having too much fun. And I'm
We
like,
were
well, you pay the price when we get back
I
home.
know, I know. It was such a blast. Thank you again for those highlights. For those that don't have the privilege of knowing you, can you give our listeners a quick rundown of who you are, what you do, and where you're from?
I'm from Rhode Island. I've been here my whole life. I'm about as local as you get. Wife calls me the mayor because we can't go anywhere without running into people I know, whether customers, friends, colleagues. Who knows?
I love it.
I'd say I'm a father, a husband, a boater, then a landscaper.
Oh, I like that order. You got your priorities in line.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. So
good.
that, parenting always comes first. Then you have to be
Mhm.
a good husband. Then you have to find something you thoroughly enjoy to make all the hours at work count. And then
Yep.
you need to have a career and
Yep.
do your best to be successful.
And it's fair to say you've been successful. You have, well, one, obviously you're the owner of GrandScapes in Rhode Island, in South Kingston, Rhode Island, correct? Is that, did I
Correct.
get
Yep.
that location right?
Yes.
But this career has been something that you have really kind of been in your entire life. Landscaping and nursery design has always been kind of in your blood, would you say?
Yeah. I come from a family of gardeners, people that like to build things.
Yeah.
And, I started this business actually in 1980. As a
Wow.
10-year-old kid, we moved, and like a typical Rhode Island family, we moved about 1,000 feet. So I asked the woman who bought my parents' house if she wanted somebody to mow the lawn. And we mowed her lawn up until she passed away in 2023. So
Wow.
that's 43 years. I wonder how many cuts that was.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Talk about a longtime client.
Yeah. And I have a lot of customers that think they're my first customer.
Yeah.
As a business owner, you'd know you've been in business a long time when you have to go to wakes and funerals.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's so full circle of life and just kind of the perspective of it all. When you started, cutting grass in 1980 to like now where Grandscapes is, I mean, obviously it's a night and day difference. Talk to us a little bit. What does Grandscapes look like today?
Today, I think we're becoming one of the premier, I call us like a boutique style company
Okay.
that, offers not only like the full design service, the installation service, the care afterwards, but also provides you with a team of trustworthy, knowledgeable people working in your yard. I think that's been the key to our success. A little bit of money spent on marketing, but really, building a business that becomes a household name. Like I just shared, we do a company-wide meeting every other Monday, and I just shared with everybody how Andy, who runs our maintenance division, just picked up a commercial maintenance account that I have always wanted to have. But I just always drove by it and was like, I want Grandscapes to be part of this. And now we are. So I
That's
saw that as a
fantastic.
great, experience, just looking at how, like, where we've gone and like how we got this job. And then, Andy told me how we got the lead and how it progressed to closing the deal.
That's awesome. And did Andy do it all on his own?
Yeah, that's the other awesome thing. Like, talk about being outside the hourglass. This is something that I wanted that somebody else got for me. Yeah.
Can't get better than that. That's
Yeah, that's a
fantastic.
true success.
It is. You have been working with Brian, I think, since 2010, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, right around there. I remember things weren't great out there in the world.
Yeah, it was a
I
little
can
rocky.
remember one of your fellow summit members in 2009 when the whole world was falling apart during the housing crisis. We were
Mhm.
actually the busiest we've ever been, making
Wow.
more money than I've ever made and not thinking about tomorrow. And I can remember to this day, my friends saying, "Hey, Pete, this is a great opportunity for you to expand the business and grow right now. You have all this work, you're building your name." I'm like, "No, I'm good.
Things are fine.
Yeah.
Things seem to be
The
pretty
things are
great at the
fine. We got
moment.
plenty of work. I'm happy with what's going on." And then that was really short-sighted. I think that was a big decision in, finding somebody to help me to take us to the next level.
If things were so good at the time, what eventually got you to pick up the phone and call Brian?
Things were good, but at the same point, we were also hitting a certain revenue number year after year after
Mhm.
year. And you do that, where do the raises come for your crew leaders? Where does your management make more money? Where does the owner earn more money? You can't. You're
Yeah.
stuck. You got it. So I needed to move to a different plane.
And here we are almost 16 years later,
Yeah.
which is
And I'm
crazy.
slow. I take my time. We've grown the business 500% since we hired Nolan Consulting.
But that's what I love so much about just kind of every client that we work with comes in with a different desire, a different level of intensity, kind of a different picture or vision of what they want to achieve. And some people, they want to grow, they want to scale, but they want to do it, over a certain period of time. Some people want to scale rapidly. Some people are ready to, add some systems and get ready to sell. I mean, everybody comes in with a different mentality. So you found your path, which is
Yeah.
great.
Well, the path is created because you get to a certain point where you build a team of people and you have people you want to keep on board. You have to give them growth opportunities. So that means you have to grow the business
Yeah.
annual, but you
Hmm.
don't have to go 50%. I think around 10% is a healthy annual growth. And then if you look at that over a 3 or a 5 year period, it's like, wow, this is a lot.
Yeah, business looks like an entirely different organization. One of the reasons why I wanted to invite you on here is that 'cause I was talking to Brian. He said to me, since you decided to really build a management team, there's been just a lot of impact kind of in your world and just in your organization. And he's seen that in coaching with you kind of over
Mhm.
the last year or two. And I want to kind of dig into that a little bit because we talk a lot about management teams here on the podcast within coaching. The dynamics of a management team can be so impactful yet so delicate all at the same
Mhm.
time. Before you had a management team in place, what did running this business look like to you?
It was chaos a lot of days. I can remember, coming in the morning early and, to plan and, plot out the day and crew leaders catching on that I came in early and coming in to try to talk to me. I'd be like, no,
This is
I'm
my
not
time.
ready. This is my time. This is all I have for this. And I can remember a big deciding factor for me was one day when Mark, who's now our design build field manager, was a lead mason on a job for many years. And I was busy because I was doing sales, I was doing project management, I was handling finances, and I'd go make site visits and check on the crews, and I never would say much. And
Mhm.
then, one day, Mark was like, "Hey, Pete, you come to the job, you look around, you say, hey, you don't really say much anything." He's like, "It would be nice to hear how we're doing." I'm
Fair.
like, "Oh, really? I just thought that you'd figure if I didn't say anything, you knew you were doing a good job."
Yeah.
And that was that sort of like changed my mind frame on how to think about things. And I was like, hmm. And then, really, the thought of building crew leaders is where it really started for me. Like, oh, this is great. We got guys that could run the job. I don't have to be there. And then you have all these crew leaders, and now all of a sudden you have to sell more work. And, we've always sort of had a salesperson, but now we have a sales team. It's a big difference.
Yes.
And then, you build the sales team and they're like, oh, geez, now I need more management in the field. And what's that look like? And then you hire a field manager.
From everything else kind of and stirs up the need for something else.
It does. It sure does. And so just
Yeah.
to sort of take a step back, I think one of the things that encouraged me to like hire these people and create these roles was our maintenance division. It was
Okay.
always something that I saw as more of a nuisance and an inconvenience, but it was sort of part of the business. So I kept it going. It wasn't really profitable. And then I finally one year said, I'm done. I pulled guy Andy aside. He was a senior crew leader. I'm like, why don't you run this? He's like, you sure? I said, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to let you take it over and I'll help you, but I don't want anything to do with it. Yeah, I'm just going to offer advice. And he's like, okay. And he took on the role and it didn't go well because, like I said, I'm not going to help you. I just give you some
Yeah.
advice. And, my advice wasn't great. And then I'm like, okay, we pulled back. I said, all right, now I'm going to mentor you. And I worked with him and I provided him the skills and the tools he needed. And now he's taken our maintenance division. It's 33% of our revenue, but it takes anything else we do, it's more profitable. His goal is to be 105% efficient this year.
Wow.
He's exceeding that right now.
Go Andy.
Yeah, by setting somebody free and giving them some help, I now have somebody that, runs the most successful, most profitable portion of our company. He does it well, and he's really gotten his crew leaders engaged on bringing jobs in on time and watching the quality as well. And it's been an amazing transformation. And that I think that inspired me to be like, oh, well, if I could do that there, let's try it somewhere else.
How long was Andy with you before you tapped him for this opportunity?
I want to say that was about 5 years ago that we started
Okay.
this process, maybe a little longer. And I think he's got 17 years at Grandscapes.
Oh wow. All right. So he earned his stripes there.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen that potential build over a decade or two.
Yeah, he was an interesting guy. He had some business background. He had a college pro painting business
Okay.
that went bad. We've talked about that and like how
Hmm.
their philosophy creates these problems for their franchise owners. And he just came on as a laborer. He needed a job. Then, became a crew leader. And then we had some really strong people in that division of the company. So he really didn't have a chance to flourish, but they retired. And then all of a sudden, now he saw the opportunity. And I think that's when we came together to develop him into the role he's in today.
Those are the best kind of stories when, it's somebody who can kind of really grow and develop within the organization and like the potential was there. They've kind of earned their respect of the crew and the team around them
Yeah.
and they're excited for the opportunity when it's offered to them.
Yeah, his guys are the first in every day. They're the first out the door every day. It's nice. I've actually at times been like, okay, maybe you should just run everything. Yeah.
Doing things so well. Let's just like replicate and repeat.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, but there were growing pains with that. It
of
took time,
course.
and we got there. And the nice thing about that is my involvement with him for the most part is we meet once a week for 30 minutes. And we have an agenda that we review. It's financials, crews, we have a whole different agenda. He prepares the meeting. I provide feedback. We both provide next steps. I don't lay all the work on him. And then we meet again the next week and we same agenda. We're following through on what our next steps were. And
You
it's
a
great.
structured meeting. A structured meeting does everybody well.
Oh yeah, there's nothing worse than a poorly planned meeting or a meeting that's not going well.
Yeah.
Or I'll end meetings. If they're going over, I'll just be all right, we're done.
It's
And
not like
people are
this. We're not.
surprised. I'm like, because I'm
Yeah.
like, we're not going to accomplish anything. We need to stop here.
It's good to know when to call it sometimes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you feel like you're spinning in the dirt, no pun
Yep.
intended, or it's just like it's getting to a level of maybe like toxicity that's just not worth it. We need to
Yep.
like separate and come back another time and like then reconvene. So you've got Andy on the maintenance side.
Right.
What's the other structure of your business? What other divisions do you have in place?
So we have our design build division. That's the remainder of our revenue. That's
Okay.
where most of our money comes from. That has, I would say I'm the general manager of that with a thought process of getting away from that role. So I have a lot of senior crew leaders that require zero supervision, more like I call it being the mayor. I just go and visit their job sites once in a while and say hi and tell them they're doing a good job. And
There you go.
it's great. Ask them if they need anything. And then we have lots of junior crews because we're growing. So we have a field manager, Mark, who he handles them. And depending on the logistics of the day, people are going to laugh at me because I'm a Rhode Islander. We think that if a job site's 45 minutes away from another job site, that's a huge distance to cover. But in my eyes, it is. So
Yeah.
we'll divide and conquer. So today, Mark took, I guess it would be Eastern Rhode Island, and I did Southwestern Rhode Island.
Okay.
So I had 3 job sites to deal with in the morning, and then he had the other 5.
I mean, 45 minutes is a lot of wasted drive time. So I understand. Split it up, get efficient.
Yeah, it's all about efficiencies. I've always said I'd love to have a GrandScapes helicopter.
Yeah. Just bop around to all the
Yeah,
different
just
job
bop
sites.
around. Yeah,
Push the
sales
bell
calls.
down.
Yeah,
Everything looks great, guys.
yeah.
You're doing awesome.
Yeah, so that's Mark. He's our field manager.
Okay.
And then we have designer Liz, who handles landscape design and sales. So she has sales goals and she helps with some management, but very, very little because the design aspect of our company is so important because that brings in so much work. And that's a division we can talk about in a little bit. That's something that we're just starting as a third division of the company. We have a vision for it.
Awesome.
And then there's Josh, who we hired him as a procurement manager because Liz and I were doing all the sales, and we felt that we could focus more on sales if we had somebody handling our procurement. We were right. He does all our buying. He negotiates discounts. If we have a job we're trying to get, he'll go to the vendor and, get better pricing so we can be more competitive if we need to. Or, a job where we have maybe we didn't get bid great, there's a mistake, he'll go and try to get the material costs down. And then he also does sales.
Okay.
And he's a sales machine. If you look at our year over year sales, I was usually about 60% of the sales, and then I'd have one to two other people selling the rest. I'm about 5% right now.
Wow.
All I do is service pre-existing customers that we've had for, 10 or 15 years.
That's amazing. Right there, like that's the story you want to hear.
Oh yeah, talk about a time saver,
Yeah.
on these sales calls. But he's new at it, so he still needs, lots of situational leadership. So I have to watch him closely and judge his mood and see how he's feeling and see when he needs high direction, when he doesn't.
So all of these people, they're a part of the management team.
Right. And then we still have two other people that are involved as well. We have Camden, who works under Andy. He was hired as an admin for Andy.
Okay.
And we quickly discovered that Camden had a lot more than that. He was a CPA, young guy,
Oh,
didn't like it. So he creates all these, he just tracks everything.
he's analytical.
Yeah, he's very analytical. He is the king of the KPI. He knows
Love it.
every hour that's put into what he tracks and creates reports. So we're comparing like our actuals versus like what our QuickBooks tells us. So we
Mhm.
find where there are errors, and it's really been great. He's created these systems. He calls them jobs logs. We have one for design build, one for maintenance, and the data in there is incredible.
That's amazing.
So,
And I mean, to bring somebody on and to like discover like untapped talent. I mean, like Andy, he wasn't hired to run a division initially, but he had the potential. And now you've got Camden. They're on the same, and like just so happens they're on the same team, in the same division, and these untapped skills that you can utilize for kind of such opportunity.
yeah. And then on top of that, we have Mackenzie. She's, our admin plus our HR person. So we're really, starting to lay more work on top of her. The one thing I did miss is Liz also does all our marketing.
Okay.
She deals with all that as well.
How does the nursery come into play here? Is this a part of like this business, or do you look at the nursery as like a
The nursery
standalone?
was a separate business,
Okay.
and I don't know if you guys know this. I actually closed it over a year ago.
Oh, I mean,
I
of course,
closed the
Brian
garden.
knows it.
Yeah.
I'm just
Didn't
late.
tell you.
I'm late to the game.
Yeah, after 8 years of it not making money,
Okay.
I said enough. And like best thing I ever did. It freed up resources, it freed up
Yeah.
people. We still have some inventory left, but we're pretty much done with that.
Obviously, you feel good about it now. In the moment, was it a hard decision?
It really wasn't. Buying it was a dream. I really enjoyed it, Molly. It was fun. I was there with my kids. We're growing plants. But the businessman in me was like, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with this model. What's going on? And then like I quickly learned that the margins in that are very small and it's very time consuming. Like we have plants that we grew first planted 9 years ago when we bought the place that are just harvestable now.
Wow. Gosh,
So
that's such a far return, or like
yeah.
a long range return.
Yeah, so you think of all the time, that plant had to be propagated, it had to be potted, it had to be planted in a field, it had to be pruned, it had to be irrigated.
Yep.
And 9 years later, you can finally sell it. So I think it just didn't seem to make sense. And at first, it was great. My parents were heavily involved. They were both retired, and they loved it. I think it became my dad's entertainment.
Oh, so it served its purpose.
It did. And then when he got sick, that was I just sort of lost my drive. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing my dad every day. It's time to focus on what I'm good at. Apparently it's building teams, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say who knew, but like it's always one of those things where like I guess you're always learning about yourself and kind of what your strengths are as you grow as a person.
Like I remember one time, Brian came up for a visit, and before he came up, I'm like, Brian, I got this team. It's really cool. They're doing all this stuff, and he didn't take me seriously, Molly. And then he got up. And after like the day, he comes outside and he's like, his jaw was like on the ground. He's like, holy crap, Pete, you built a strong team. I didn't realize you had that.
I
I
love
said,
it.
Thank you, Brian. I wanted to share that with you because you made this happen. Your coaching is what got me there.
I love it. Nothing like that. There's nothing else that makes him happier than kind of seeing like the evolution of something like that change, or kind of just like seeing how it changes your life at the end of the day. I
Well,
mean,
that's the real thing behind it is how it actually changes your life.
yeah, he just got back from two mastermind retreats from this past week, where each with like a group of different business owners, and he was like, "I'm just like those are the moments where I'm like reminded why I do what I do and why I love it.
Mm.
Just like connecting with people and talking about their challenges and like digging deep and getting vulnerable, and like it just at the end of the day, it's about people and like just like trying to make things a little bit better in life.
Yeah, the vulnerable is the hard one.
It is.
I've had to
I
make
imagine.
myself do that. Like I can remember one time I felt it was important to share my crisis plan with my management team. That was brutal.
How'd that go? How'd it go over?
I think they were pleased with, what my thoughts were and how things would be handled. I didn't think they expected to see the level of emotion they were going to get out of me, so I basically had to leave afterwards. I was like, I gotta go, guys. I can't.
Yeah. Well, you sharing that and like putting that vulnerability on display, I would imagine only made them respect you more so as a leader, as as a person. And like vulnerability is so impactful. And
Yeah.
the more it can be done by example, I mean, I would wonder if you doing that has allowed of more vulnerable moments, whether within the management team together or even just one-on-one you with individuals. Like it kind of unpacks, it gives permission for just kind of more in-depth conversations.
Yeah, I think it has actually. I think it's allowed us to share more about our lives with each
Yeah.
other because it's important. We do safety meetings where we talk about everyone has a bad day.
Yeah.
It's okay to say, hey, I'm having a bad day. Here's why, or don't tell us why, but just so we know to keep an eye on you.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being transparent about those things. Well, just to put a cap on the nursery, I remember visiting there again 10 years ago and thought it was
Mhm.
beautiful. So I'm glad that, it was a dream that you had, and it served its purpose for the time that you had it, but you were wise and made the decision to move on when it was no longer serving what it needed to do.
I think that's the hardest decision business owners have to make. Whether it's letting somebody go that maybe has been with you for a long time and they're no longer a fit, or going after something and saying, oh, this isn't working. I need to change. Sometimes change is just pull the plug.
Yeah, being okay with pivoting when it's not working. I mean, that alone, I think, is like just a courageous move. Instead of saying, "No, I'm going to try to see this through. I'm going to make this work. People are looking at me. I'm going to, I have this. I've grown this kind of brand." But you got to do it ultimately what's true to you at the end of the day, and whether or not this business is going to make it with it or without it.
It actually ended up being one of our successes last year that it was gone.
Look at that, a win.
Yeah, it was right on our we do a bi-weekly management team meeting. We call it an operations meeting. It's not really operations as much as just deep dive into the company. And yeah, that was one of our successes last year.
That I mean that's victory because you've changed, you kind of flipped the script on it, versus it's not a loss that we closed it, it's a win because we were able to see the writing on the wall and actually do
Yep.
something about it.
Yeah.
Talk to me about these management teams that you have. So you said they're bi-weekly. Who runs these
So,
meetings?
so we have a variety of meetings. Our design build team actually meets 3 times a week. They're one hour meeting and then two 20 to 30-minute meetings. Checking the pulse, just checking in, watching everything that's going on. Then there's the weekly maintenance meeting I have with Andy. And then we have a bi-weekly operations meeting, which is more of a dive into the company, like a month or so ago. But let me back up a little bit. Then there's another weekly meeting that's just the management team, and I do
Okay.
not attend that meeting.
You don't attend
I
that.
do not attend that meeting. It's a free, open discussion. They have an agenda. I do not attend it. If I'm in the office when it happens, I leave.
Interesting.
So they can have an open conversation without me there, and then they give me feedback, and I give them feedback on their feedback.
How did this come about?
I was just one day, I think it was maybe a year or so ago. I think I was actually talking to Brian about how I felt like I was taking all the air out of the room at these meetings. And then I started working on that, made some changes. Like I told, we do like a daily huddle with design build before everyone comes in. I started by just like telling the team, I'm coming in 10 minutes later than you guys because you start without me. And then from that, we were having, I think, an ops meeting one day, and I was like, hey, you know what? You guys should really just meet without me and have an open conversation. I'll help you with an agenda. And it's been great. And at times you have to reel them back in. Like
Mhm.
2 weeks ago, I actually spent our whole operations meeting going through their management meeting and really, giving them good feedback and telling them what was good, what wasn't good. And the biggest problem, they were discussing so many things. They had so many great ideas, but they weren't doing next steps. So I was like, nothing gets done without a next step and a completion date.
It was more so they were dreaming and visioning versus
Yeah,
actually.
I think they're starting to gripe a little bit, to be honest with you. And I think, I stopped it, and
Yeah.
just sort of turned it around. And last week's notes were really good.
Is the feedback that they share with you and then the feedback that you then share back with them, do you feel like it's like a healthy communication channel there?
It is. And
Yeah.
sometimes you have to wear different hats. Sometimes I just put on the business owner hat and I say, no, this is ridiculous. We're not doing this. Other times I'm like, that's a great idea. Like, do you know what the title of their agenda is?
Oh, what is it?
It's how to get remove Pete from the day-to-day operation so he can take time off and enjoy his life.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's amazing.
That's their goal. That's the end result of what
We
they're,
love these people.
yeah.
That's so cool.
And I pay them well.
Yeah.
I take good care of them. I mentor them well. I actually, almost every day, I think one of the first books I read from you guys was The 1 Minute Manager.
Hmm.
I feel like that person. I go around and I just give feedback and advice and direction. And some conversations are short and some are long.
You have come so far from the guy who used to just show up at a job site and just check in,
Yeah.
hi, and then leave. I mean, it's transformed, and it's probably why you have the team now that you do, because you've changed the way that you develop people.
Yeah, and you need these people. We're all
Yeah.
spokes in the wheel, I guess. We all need each other to make this work.
Colin just said that on the last podcast he did with Brian on the Business is Messy series. Just like if you want to get kind of across the canyon, you need good people. Like
Yeah.
you're just not going to get there without people that you trust and can rely on and who kind of have best interests of the business and each other in mind. You just
Yep.
need good folks on your team.
Yeah.
In this age too, when we're talking so much about technology and automations and AI, like just comes and you just got to remember the people.
That's the thing. They're people. They're not AI.
Yeah.
It's an actual person. It's because yeah, that's a whole other podcast.
It is. It
Yeah.
sure is.
Yeah.
I love that you said though you realized that you were taking a lot of air in the room. And I mean, Brian has said that about his own self, that he feels like he has done that in the past, and that's something
Mhm.
he actively works on. But I think it's a common trait amongst a lot of business owners who just their presence in a meeting will often quiet the other people from speaking up. And you have to, and it's hard, but to be able to like step back and not be the first to respond to a challenge or not be the first to express opinion on something, I mean, you, besides, removing yourself from that particular meeting, is that something that you still feel like you have to practice when you're in other meetings?
Yeah, you have to stop and you have to be like, what do you guys think? Or,
Yeah.
look at your field manager and be like, what do you think? And it's all about like as a business owner, I'm more of like a parent. They're my children. And like I need to guide them to becoming good adults. And like I'm helping them, giving them the tools they need to succeed. And they're different things. And that's where like the rocks come in.
Yeah.
Like you guys might get a kick out of it. For everybody's rocks this year, they all got toys that were their rocks.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
like
hilarious.
like Josh, he's doing awesome with sales, but
Yeah.
he wants to get away from me checking his estimates.
Okay.
I do too.
Yeah. It's
So I got
mutual.
him a set
Yeah.
of wings, his rocks wings. I'm like, so you can fly away.
I love it.
Yeah, like
That's
I got
creative.
yeah, like Andy has a goal this year of reaching a certain revenue point, and
Mhm.
then he moves to a different position in the company. So I got him like a football goal. Yeah, and like everybody got something, and it really yeah, it sort of brings it home.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes it also a little bit personal to each one of them. Like they're all
Yeah.
working on these big rocks
Yep.
that are ultimately the big rocks are, decided by the company, but they're individual ownership that are going to be working towards kind of the common growth.
And their meeting without me is where they gave all the big rocks out.
Interesting.
Like they gave me a big rock too.
What they give you
They called it Hourglass.
to get out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I changed it. My rock is the mayor, I call it. I told him I want to be out in the parking lot in the morning, shaking hands and greeting people and not having a clue knowing what's going on or where they're going. Just say hi, how you doing?
Hmm.
Check in with the people.
That'll make you happy.
Yeah, it would feel good.
Yeah.
And it will make them happy too. I'll be
Yeah.
setting the stage for my team. I'll be sending people in that are smiling because the boss is out there shaking hands or passing out coffees or whatever.
Oh, I love it. What kind of KPIs or numbers at the operations meeting are you guys tracking? If this is happening, on a bi-weekly basis.
Right.
And
So we track a lot of different numbers.
okay.
We usually start the meeting out with we have reserve and debt goals. So we have a spreadsheet that we're watching, our debt ratio. And so I usually start with that. And that goes quick. So if we have a lot to cover, I might just spend 2 minutes on that, but we're looking at it. We're making it like an actual KPI. The biggest thing we're really watching is, feet on the street and hours worked. So you're not going to hit your goals if you can't get those hours in. So we're watching that, and then we're comparing it against our, weekly, monthly, and hourly goals and making sure we're hitting those.
Is hiring and getting and hitting those feet on the street goals, is that something you guys have been on the mark with this past year
We
or
have
like in the pattern of the last couple years?
The last 12 months, we have had the best luck with hiring we've ever had.
That's amazing to hear.
I'm going to let you in on a little
What's
bit on how
what's the
men
magic
think.
secret? Everybody's listening close now.
Okay, here's the magic secret.
Okay.
And it came from Liz, our landscape designer. She's like, Pete, men will apply for the position above where they should be. So
Yes.
if we're looking for a crew leader, we should be hiring a manager. Smartest thing ever.
Interesting.
So now I always put ads out for a position above, and I get all these people that apply, and they're really not qualified,
Yeah.
but they're
But
qualified for a lower role.
you've
And that,
discovered it.
yes, that's my trick for success in hiring.
So how do you then talk to them? Would you say, I don't quite see you in this role, but I think you'd make a great crew leader, and maybe let's start there and develop you into that future role?
Exactly. Yeah, so we bring them in. The way we've been handling it is if it's for maintenance, Andy does it all on his own, the
Okay.
interviews, the calls. On design build, Josh, our sales procurement person, he runs the ad. He screens them generally on Indeed, and then he gives me the qualified applicants after he's talked to them on the phone.
Okay.
And then I talk to them and schedule an in-person meeting. And my interview process is very different. They've already sort of been pre-screened, pre-qualified. We've always already checked out who they are, checked out their previous employers. I'm just having a conversation with them,
Okay.
just getting to know them. Because if you talk to somebody long enough and you make them comfortable, they're going to spill the beans on everything. And you're going to find out if you have a problem or not. And you don't always get it right. Like we were desperate 3 weeks ago for some solid labor. And I remember I interviewed a guy and I got too caught up in the fact that the guy was in really good physical shape. He had had laborer roles his whole life. I wasn't listening to what he was telling me. And then on day one, oh boy, that did not go well. We let him go day one.
Yeah.
And I told the team, I was like, you know what, you guys, I own this one and here's why. And we talked about it. So yes, nobody's perfect, but
Yeah.
that's my trick.
That's a good trick, and it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, women tend to not apply for the roles that they're actually really
Yep.
qualified
Well,
for.
I agree because there's no wage gap at GrandScapes. All men and women are treated equally. We try to hire women. We have a
Mhm.
4'6" female crew leader.
Love it.
Last summer, my son was on her crew. You haven't seen him in a while, but
No, I
he's
haven't.
6'1",
Wow.
250, all muscle, plays college football. So he's this giant. And he's got this
Wow.
little woman just telling him, just keeping him in line all day long. It's
I
hilarious.
love that visual so much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's,
She has to put books behind her to drive the dump truck she
oh
drives.
my gosh. I love it. It's not stopping her. If there's a will, there is a way.
Yeah, yeah. So that's important to me to have a good, diverse company.
Yeah. Now, with all of that you have done with transforming this business, with getting these people in the right roles, hiring a good team, having folks that you trust, a management team that's running without you, or meeting weekly without you, what does this do for your time? I mean, if the name of their meeting is to get Pete out of the day-to-day of the business and kind of spend more time doing what he loves, or a version of that, are you doing what you love in that time?
I'm doing a lot of it.
Good.
For me, my typical day is, I start work early. I like to get up early and,
Hmm.
go and look at the banking and emails and think about the day, get into work. But usually by 10, I'm sort of done. Unless I have like a meeting. So usually my like 10 to 1 o'clock window is my time.
Oh, that's so nice.
So I hired a trainer. I go there 2 to 3 days a week in the middle of the day. Take an hour for lunch afterwards. Things like that. This
Yeah.
winter, I took most afternoons off and just went and worked on my boat. So that's sort of what it looks like. Last Friday, I had a little feel great Thursday night. And so I just called my team Friday morning and said, "Hey, I'm not coming in today. Just you guys know what to do."
And there are no issues. They figured it out. And that's something to be proud of, Pete. I mean, I feel like that is the ultimate goal of kind of creating a business that can operate without you, but still allows you to show up and be there and provide your input and connect with people and be a part of, the visioning of it, but letting your team be the implementers.
I agree. I think one bit of advice I could give to people that are building teams
Yeah.
is keep in mind, though, just because you have this great team doesn't mean you can not be engaged in the business. They need that. They need that fuel that you create as a person by being there, by showing up.
Yeah.
My team, they know it's right in my calendar that I'm taking, 11. I took from 11 to 12 today to go to the trainer. They know that.
Hmm.
I told them after our call today, I have something I want to take care of, so I'm not coming back to the office. So it's okay to be honest about that, but you need to be engaged too. You
Yep.
can't just be constantly going on vacation and come back and tell them how great it was.
That's a very good point. Yeah, they want to know you're still connected, you're still in the loop, but that you're also entrusting them to get the job done.
Yeah, you're still the owner. It's still
Yeah.
your business, and they need to be reminded that and through engagement, not through like demanding things, but through just showing up and helping and contributing.
What does the future of Grandscapes look like to you? I mean, as you have intentionally created this leadership structure and
Hmm.
you're spending more time doing the things that you love while still being engaged as the owner,
Hmm.
what do the next couple of years have in store for Pete?
Basically, I'm trying to wind down my career at Grandscapes. I plan on selling to my two top guys in 5 years.
Hmm.
They know that. We meet monthly and have a succession planning meeting, and we talk about it openly. There's been a number that's been addressed, and they come at me with questions. It's I thought this one was great last meeting. Andy asked me, he's like, "Pete, what happens if because I'm going to finance them. So I think I'm using a little Kevin Nolan inspiration. We're building
Yeah.
reserves, and the reserves aren't for them. Yeah, it's their down payment to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And basically, I'm going to finance the rest." And, Andy asked me a question about, what happens if we're not successful one month and we can't pay the note? Can we do an interest only note? And I'm like, I'm going to reflect on this. I'm going to get back to you. And my response was, absolutely, I would do that, but you can't take a paycheck if you can't pay me.
Fair.
That didn't go over well.
Interesting.
And I was like, well, and then that turned into a lecture from me about business ownership and, an owner is ultimately accountable
Yep.
and the business is only as successful as you are. And I shared with them, there was one winter that was not good for me. I didn't take a paycheck for 10 weeks.
I just was going to say, I'm sure that you have been there. Have been in those
Yeah.
boots, and many
Yeah.
listeners who are business owners have also have had moments where they didn't take a paycheck.
Yeah. And then, do you get that back? Do you pay yourself back over time or
Right.
what? But, and I did share with them, I said, just keep in mind, guys, though, that even if you're a business owner and you're not taking a paycheck, there are other creative ways to help you survive.
But it's good that these are discussions that you're having now,
Yeah.
way in advance of that all kind of actually happening,
Yeah.
and the discussions are happening proactively, not when you're in the moment where it's a tough conversation and emotions race to the top.
Yeah.
These are healthy discussions.
Yeah, because emotions are scary. You got to be really careful with that, and
Yeah.
I've learned that with, managing different people and different personalities.
Yeah, managing people is it's a whole other ball game. That's why I often have always said that the term manager, I often think gets thrown around way too easily in just regular kind of professional retail corporate life,
Right.
because to be a manager, but to be a manager of people is a very different thing.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of folks named a manager, but do not have any skills on how to work and develop and frankly, just manage people's emotions. That's half, honestly, it's half the battle.
Oh,
Sometimes
trust me, I know that.
90% of the
Yep. I
battle.
had yeah, I had my mechanic pull me aside this morning and vent to me for 37 minutes. Like I didn't have time for that, but I took the
Yeah.
time. I listened to him
Yep.
and we set some next steps. And I think it's to our benefit.
Hmm.
It was actually I'm listening to him and what he had to say. I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm going to take advantage of this and I'm going to help him to solve these problems that are bothering him.
So you're seeing opportunities. I mean, what I'm seeing now is like even with your time, it's you're being given kind of more time to work and coach and develop people.
Yeah.
Like if you're not in the day-to-day of the operation so much anymore, but you're still engaged with the team, it gives you that platform to continue to build those relationships and coach. And that's pretty cool.
It's fun. It's rewarding at the end of the day. And there's some things I'm still involved in. It's sort of hard to let go of everything. And sometimes I see myself getting sucked in and I'm like, oh, whoa, I got to back off. I'm doing their job now.
Checks and balances.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like you're really kind of driving in the right direction of kind of how you want that balance of life to be, and it's awesome. It's awesome to see that happen, just kind of from where things were, years and years ago to where they are now, and the nursery time, and now the nursery not being around, but the team that you have built. GrandScapes has fully evolved from the 1980 business that started as a mowing company.
Yeah. 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 Trust me, Molly, my vision as a young kid was, oh, I want 100 mowing accounts. I thought that was success.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I was short-sighted. That was really not giving myself much of a challenge.
But I think that's kind of the reality of it, though. I think the vision or the definition of success can change, and a vision can change. That's why it's important to kind of revisit it and understand, kind of talk through it. But at that time, at 1980, 100 accounts was success. But then there was more. Then you had more potential. Then you built a
So I think
team.
1980 actually was getting a gas-powered weed whacker. That was my dream.
There you go.
And I
Now
got
you've really come far. Now you've got so
it.
much
Yeah.
equipment.
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
a mechanic.
Yeah. We have a full-time mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. Pete, thank you so much. This was really a pleasure to kind of talk to you about the business and just kind of the evolution of where things were. Any final words that you would want to leave our listeners with on the topic?
No, thanks for listening to me for an hour today.
It was
You know,
fantastic.
one of the things I think in that life has taught me is I want to share, what I've learned, and help other people do the same thing.
Well, it's truly one of my favorite parts about my job is to do this podcast host role, because it gives me such an opportunity to learn about people's lives and what they're passionate about and different challenges and getting up to speed as to where they're at. And, when I haven't seen them in a little while. So it's good stuff. So thank you for being here. And I always say until next time, because who knows, we could chat again in a couple years and see where GrandScapes is at, see if you sold the business to your two guys and what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll say until then. Thanks,
All
Pete.
right. All right. Bye, Molly.